Just over a year ago, the current US president, Donald Trump, went on social media. That's a radical start to a video, isn't it? And in this particular instance, he decided to be temporarily distracted by the world of Hollywood. And he decreed in a post on his own social networking site that he was appointing 3 men to turn around the, quote, very troubled place, Hollywood, California. The 3 men, Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, John Voight. 1 year on, let's have a look at how they've got on. Going back to that original post that Donald Trump put out, he declared that Sylvester Stallone, John Voight and Mel Gibson will, quote, serve as special envoys to me for the purpose of bringing Hollywood, which has lost much business over the last 4 years to foreign countries, back. Wrote that in block caps. I've gone back, bigger, better, stronger than ever before. He didn't do that. I added that. Now, coincidentally, the trio had backed Trump in his election campaign, which had concluded not long before he posted that. But also then, the then president-elect hadn't really gone to the trouble of informing them of his plan. And instead, he jabbed letters into his phone with his bruised hand, hit send, and presumably waited to see how it played out or got distracted by something else. Now, only one of the 3 immediately responded, and that was Mel Gibson. A man, it would be fair to say, is not shy in the slightest where controversy is concerned. I heed the call, said Gibson. So what difference have they made? Well, let's take them in turn. Let's start with Rhinestone star Sylvester Stallone. Now, more recently, he's had to pop along to IKEA to get himself a new shelf because he's been awarded a Trump Kennedy Center honorary prize as recently as December 2025. And look at the videos of him. He's over the moon. It just says, we peaked. It's just like the look of a man who's like, this is the top of his career. And he made Rocky 5. Trump hosted those awards, other recipients standing proudly alongside Sylvester Stallone on that stage, Gloria Gaynor, Gene Simmons and Frank Spencer. Now, that said, since Stallone was appointed as a special envoy, he's not really had much time to save Hollywood, given his commitment has primarily been to the TV series that he's making, Tulsa King. He's shooting a new season of that at the moment, and he's also lent his backing about a year ago to an AI company, Largo.ai. He's worked with his Balboa Productions, has hired new people. I mean, his name's been on screenplays and producer. It's not particularly clear how hands-on he's been with films such as A Working Man and the more recent British film Giant, but still, he's working on a bunch of movies and TV shows. Now, specific to the task that Trump set Stallone, he added his name to a letter asking the president for new tax measures and federal tax incentives to help lure production back to America. That was, I think, in the spring of last year. But straight away, as the White House's Kush Desai responded in the Los Angeles Times, official policy positions will be announced by President Trump and President Trump only. President Trump has not announced any official policy decisions on this. And so here we are. And so countries around the world continue to lure American productions thanks to more aggressive tax breaks. And Trump's had moments where he's threatened tariffs against foreign movies, backed away from them. He's in the Epstein files, apparently. So moving on to Mel Gibson. Now, Gibson might have been the first to respond to Trump's proclamation, but of the 3 70-plus white men that the commander-in-chief selected to save Hollywood, he seems to be the one, from the outside looking in, the one less concentrated on the task in hand. Instead, he's making films, directing films. Now, amidst all the controversies, Gibson has regularly delivered films that have worked, right up until the start of 2025, where he released Flight Risk. Now, you might remember this, a tepidly received thriller, notable for Mark Wahlberg having less hair than me, but the poster kind of cropped him there to make it look like he had a bit more. I might start sitting like that, actually. And so, Flight Risk didn't go down particularly well, but most of the time in the last 12 months, he's instead been trying to get his follow-up to The Passion of the Christ, The Resurrection of the Christ, funded and put into production. Now, The Passion of the Christ was an independent film funded primarily by Gibson, got very rich off the back of his success. Now he's working on the new one, which has been split into 2 films. The budget's set to be 9 figures. Gibson's directed again. Jim Caviezel's decided he's had enough of being Jesus for Mel, so that role has been recast. But still, production has begun. The 2 parts of the film will be released 6 weeks apart in the first half of 2027. For that, we can read Mel Gibson's going to be busy for the next 18 months, finishing the films, releasing the films, promoting the films. Gibson has also, he's appearing in another movie as well, but here are the things to know. He's demonstrating how eagerly he's heeded Donald Trump's call to bring production back to Hollywood by shooting The Resurrection of the Christ in, hang on, let me check my notes. Oh, Italy, shooting it in Italy. He's also booked a role in a thriller called Coyote. Now, that has shot bits in America, but where else? Mexico and Italy. All right, maybe he didn't quite get the memo. Let's move instead then to the one who's been most actually active on the job in hand, Jon Voight. Now, he's been motivated to do something about this, has held a lot more meetings, again, from the outside looking in than the rest of them. He doesn't appear to have booked much acting work in 2025. Maybe that's part of it. But then the guy's 88 this year. He's been on news programs moaning about who New York elected as their mayor. But still, he was asked to save Hollywood, and at least he's had a go. I mean, he was reported in the first quarter, the first 3-4 months actually of 2025, to be meeting up with unions and executives in and around the film business in America. And it looked like Stallone and Jon Voight were not involved in this. I think trade press reports suggested they've not had any such meetings of their own, certainly not at the point Jon Voight was doing it. And Voight was believed to have presented ideas for tax incentives and such, fairly obvious, unlikely effective solution, to be fair, for the drain of production work from Los Angeles. Ultimately, it's money that's luring people away. If you make it more financially bearable to film in Los Angeles, more people are going to film in Los Angeles. So Jon Voight, to be fair, does appear to have been working on the understanding that Trump might actually engage with his efforts. That's not quite happened, sadly, though, because the report went in, and the White House apparently took receipt of it. And while there were then subsequent reports many months later, I think it was December of last year, that proposals have gone into Donald Trump on Hollywood, there's been no actual noise from the White House beyond actually the initial post that really triggered all this off. So one year and a couple of days on, where are we? Stallone has preened while being presented with a medal. Gibson's buggered off to Italy to make 2 films. Voight has taken some meetings, but appears to have made precisely 0 difference so far, but also, in fairness, not for the want of trying. Trump, meanwhile, has done lots of things to avoid being mentioned that he's in the Epstein files, factually. At the end of 2025, where does this leave production in Hollywood? Well, the Hollywood Reporter suggested that in year on year, Los Angeles had recorded actually a 16% drop in production shoot days compared to 2024. So the first year of this scheme has not entirely gone to plan. The ambassadors haven't really delivered the results. So it must be fake news or something like that, because it can't be true. And in fact, the local California legislature is enacting some regional policies outside of the White House to try and reverse the trend. It's unclear if Messrs. Gibson, Voight and Stallone were involved in that at all. Might all be fake news. Who knows? Maybe Trump picked the wrong ambassadors. I don't know. Brett Ratner's nearly free, isn't he? He might fill in for a little bit before he goes to make Rush Hour 4. Maybe he wasn't massively engaged in the nuance of Hollywood after all. Maybe he just needs to make a decision. Who knows? As it stands, one of his ambassadors is out the country, one of whom has a new medal. The other one's trying to do something but isn't being listened to. See you again in a year. Let's see how they're all getting on then.